Hey everybody, Kyle Goethe here from the Goat From Reviews YouTube channel and goatfromreviews.com, and we're playing catch up because I've been a little bit behind on a lot of things. I'm sure you guys have been aware of that. Lots of things that we need to handle right now. There have been some changes to my career which have led me to be able to spend more time with you guys on this channel, and one of the things I've been behind on for some reason, I came across the fact that I haven't done a movie haul all year. So I found December's footage, uploaded that a couple of weeks ago, and today we are going to cover January, February, March, April, May, June, and July, everything I've purchased this year, which is not actually that crazy of a list. I've been kind of all over the place with things. So we're going to go through it month by month, everything I've purchased that I can remember at least. Let's get started with January. All right, January only has one actually, and it's the John Wick Trilogy, which now is not officially a quadrilogy, but this is John Wick's chapters 1, 2, and 3 on 4K. I already had the films on Blu-ray, but I came across this actually on clearance at a Target. Fun fact, if you don't know, when Target receives stuff in the store that they don't have, that they don't actually sell in the store, like if it's an online item from Target.com that arrives in the store, like this was, more often than not, it automatically gets auto 70% off. So that's why every time I go shopping at Target, I walk through the electronics, entertainment, and like board game section just looking for like these kinds of things. Because this came out, it was like 70% off the regular price. This was like a super good deal. So I nabbed it, the whole trilogy, on 4K. The wife and I watched it in anticipation of John Wick Chapter 4, and there you have it. So yeah, that's what we got for January. Let's move on to February.
All right, moving on to February. And we'll start off with House of the Dragon Season 1. When the show aired last year, I loved it. I soaked up every episode. I watched a few of them multiple times throughout the season. I really loved House of the Dragon Season 1. I'm also one of those guys that didn't inherently hate Game of Thrones Season 8. There was issues with it, sure, but there are issues with every show and how they end, and people choose to hate them, and most of us couldn't come up with a better story, and I agree. Game of Thrones has some faults in the last season, but overall I found it a compelling and exciting finale. I thought House of the Dragon 1 was a great start, and honestly, if you're thinking about the problems with Game of Thrones, it's that its writer, George R. R. Martin, never finished the story, but this story is finished, so I think we're on a better track forward with this one. So House of the Dragon on 4K, so excited to watch it. Another purchase that I made that I've been trying to get a hold of for a while was I got the complete series for the Twilight Zone on Blu-ray. So I have the complete Night Gallery series, and now I have the complete Twilight Zone, a show that I love. And I know that I've seen the entire first season at the very least, and numerous episodes from the rest of the series, but I've never been able to sit down and watch all of them, including, I think, a lot of the season 4 episodes didn't aired heavily edited because they were hour-long episodes, so I probably missed a lot of those ones. I'm excited to see the Twilight Zone from beginning to end. So there that is right there. One of my upgrades I made from DVD to Blu-ray was the Silent Night, Deadly Night collection, which is not the first two films, but it's actually 3, 4, and 5. Silent Night, Deadly Night 3, Better Watch Out. Silent Night, Deadly Night 4, Initiation. And Silent Night, Deadly Night 5, The Toymaker. So the first two films were about Ricky the serial killer Santa Claus, and he appears in the third film again, Bill Moseley with his brain in a glass jar. You can see on the cover there. The fourth film was a Brian Yuzna film that had to do with these like kind of witches and stuff, separate film entirely. And then part 5 was an evil toy maker that was played by Mickey Rooney. So that's... And the funny thing is Mickey Rooney came out against the first film because he didn't want the bastardization of Christmas, and look what we ended up with anyway. So I had these on DVD. I had to upgrade them for Blu-ray. I don't know why I had to, but Vestron Video is actually quite a nice little boutique Blu-ray creator, and also not that expensive either. I think this set of 3 films was $10, which I think was cheaper than I spent on the DVDs. So, and last up for this month, we have a Blu-ray of Christopher Nolan's The Prestige, which is one of my favorite Nolan films. One of my favorite film memories was watching this. We got a friend of mine, a couple friends came over, and we watched this movie when it, I think 2 or 3 nights before it came out. And or I guess before it came out on home video because we missed it in theaters. And we actually watched it all the way through a second time that same night because we loved the story so much. The Prestige is great, and I had to upgrade my DVD copy to Blu-ray. Let's move on to March. All right, we're in March. Slight jump forward in time. I had to quit filming yesterday for a little bit because I got busy, but we're going to keep going here, okay? Next up on our list for March is the 4K of Highlander's Director's Cut. This is the first film in the series. It's the only one I've seen in the series. I try my best not to spend a ton of money to upgrade my movies, especially ones that I've upgraded a few times, just because it's a new format. But Highlander was pretty inexpensive. It was a sale going on. I had the Blu-ray, so I figured, you know what, let's get the director's cut on 4K. And I think I'm happy with that purchase. I haven't had a chance to actually watch it yet, but yeah, it's Highlander. I mean, this is one where I showed it to my wife, and she said, like, before watching, like, this is going to be kind of stupid, isn't it? I said, I guess, but it's also really good. And when we finished watching the movie, she was like, okay, that's kind of awesome, and I can't wait to watch it again. And I think that's a pretty fair assessment of the film. I also picked up Halloween Ends on 4K. I was a big fan of... I really liked what they did with the 2018 Halloween, and I loved what they did with Halloween Kills in 2021. This film, very divisive. The more I watch it, the more I really kind of dig it. But yeah, I can see what a lot of people were kind of pissed off with this for. Again, I'd rather have a movie take a swing that's maybe a little zanier than just do exactly what I expected. So I do appreciate that about this film. But yeah, I can see exactly what would piss people off about it. I just dig it because it's something new in the Halloween world, and I think it's as far as Michael Myers goes, it's a good ending to that story of Laurie and Michael. And I'm excited to see where the franchise decides to go next. I hope it's a full-blown reboot that just kind of ignores the Laurie character, starts with Michael Myers killing babysitters, like present day, like just start the franchise over again, kind of like what they did with the Friday the 13th 2009 film. Last film for this month actually was just Coal Miner's Daughter. I just picked up the DVD. I've heard some great things about it, some great things about the performances, and I wanted to check out the film. I know very little about it. I know it's Loretta Lynn's story, but I don't know anything about Loretta Lynn. So like, I know nothing about this movie. This was a super cheap DVD. All right, let's move on to April. So April was actually a pretty swift month as well. I only got one movie. Again, the beginning of the year was kind of low end because I was just so busy with other things. I wasn't really collecting. I wasn't really seeing much. So I picked up Magic Mike's Last Dance. I nabbed this one because I missed it in theaters. I really liked the first two films. They were a lot of fun. Yeah, I just if you've been following my channel for a while, you know that I missed a lot of theatrical experiences in January, February, and March. So this was kind of part of my makeup for that. It's also a case of I just had this indication that some movies are like this one, which was actually meant to be a direct to HBO Max movie, and then ended up surprising the creatives at Warner Brothers, so they put it out in theaters. I wasn't sure if that meant that this film was going to get a wide release on home video or like a boutique release or just never make it to home video. At the time, you know, we hadn't had Evil Dead Rise, which was also going to be an HBO Max film that became a theatrical release, and Blue Beetle is the same way. I was under the assumption I didn't know how long this movie would be available in a hard copy, so I nabbed it to have it. And I haven't actually gotten around to watching it yet. My wife liked the first two films, but she hasn't had a whole lot of excitement to watch the third one. So, Magic Mike's Last Dance, my sole purchase for April. All right, now we're in May. So, first up for May, we have Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania on 4K. This is one I missed in theaters, and again, I can't tell if it was because I was so busy or the negative reception to the movie. I've really liked the other Ant-Man films, so I don't really know what led me to not see this movie in the theater, because it's only the second film I've ever missed from Marvel Studios, like the MCU. Only the second film of theirs I missed in theaters. The first one was Captain America: The Winter Soldier. I was moving at the time. It was an expensive move, getting a new job, like I missed it completely. I just could not afford even to go to the theater. But I picked it up when it came out, and that was the case with this one as well. And this one, I do have to say, is probably the most disappointed I've been for an MCU movie ever. It might be the weakest one. It's very forgettable. It's so CGI plastered that none of the film really stood out to me. I didn't really feel like there was any character movement that really, yeah, like I would strain to tell you many of the events that happened in the film. I don't know how this movie even runs close. It runs over 2 hours. I have no memories of certain events. So, yeah, it's like, and I think my review for it was like, it's okay. But I think we've come to expect more than okay. Up next over here. So I picked up Batman the Animated Series, the complete series, a while back, and I think my intention was just to keep that one and not really spread out with the rest of the Timverse, but I ended up seeing a really good deal for Superman the Animated Series, so I picked up the complete series for that as well. Like this was like, I got this after the fact. It was a clearance thing somewhere. I think it was one of those Target online things that I'd come across, so just random happenstance. The digital code had already expired. Thanks a lot, Warner Brothers. So yeah, I mean, I picked it up because I'm certain I've seen some of the animated series for Superman. I haven't seen all of it. There's crossovers, there's things. I just thought it'd be kind of fun to kind of spread out further, and the price was actually pretty good for it. I also picked up Rick and Morty season 6. Now, I know the Justin Roiland of the room, like the elephant of the room is that, Justin Roiland is kind of an asshole, and I think the idea that he got off from his charges, like, okay, doesn't make him not an asshole. Like, it doesn't negate the asshole stuff and the fact that he was fired from the show for being an asshole. This is a case where I bought this because I like the other people involved in the show. I like Dan Harmon. I like the cast that worked on the show outside of Roiland. And again, I don't harken back to say that one thing should suffer because of one asshole. I know that he had a large amount of assholelessness on this thing, but like there were a lot of other people working on this show and people that I quite liked. So I'm excited because I haven't seen most of that season. I kind of fell behind again with everything going on this year. I fell behind on catching episodes as they aired. Another upgrade that I did was Apocalypse Now, the final cut on 4K. This actually also has the theatrical cut, the Redux cut, and Hearts of Darkness. I had to make sure it had Hearts of Darkness and Redux, and that they were all on 4K. I was not interested in getting a version, because I've mentioned this before, and I'll show it when I do an unboxing for this. I bought Life Force from Scream Factory on 4K. Well, the theatrical cut was on 4K. The director's cut on a separate disc was Blu-ray quality, which is still nice, but honestly, I'm more interested in watching the director's cut than I am the theatrical cut. So really, why did I spend extra money to get the 4K? I had to make sure that was the case here too. I didn't want to buy a 4K of final cut that just comes with a Blu-ray of the movies I already have. What's the point then? But this actually happened to be pretty cheap at my local Target. There was a sale where it was like $9. Had to have Apocalypse Now in the best version I could. The last two for this month are actually a thing I kind of accidentally found as I was looking around online. I've been a member of Disney Movie Insiders for years, and I just put my points in there, let them rack up, and then, I thought, maybe I'll buy tickets to Disneyland one day or something like that with them, or, burn through them when I see something worthwhile. But a lot of what they had was posters and Funko Pops and things that, like, neat but don't really, excite me. But then I saw that they started putting, like, 4K movies on their rewards program. So I was able to actually get these two for free. Frozen on 4K, so I upgraded my Blu-ray, and Raya and the Last Dragon on 4K, a movie that I liked but just didn't have yet. So those two came out, and fun fact, like they were like 1,000 points, but you get like 300 points every time you see a new Disney movie in theaters. You get like 200 points every time you buy a Disney movie. So you can rack up those points pretty quickly. And every time you buy one of these with redemption points, it comes with a code for another 200 points. So like it kind of self-propagates a lot. And so I'd saved up like 12,000 points. Each of these costs less than 1,000. So I have been buying a lot more 4Ks and redeeming, and it's nice because Disney movies are expensive. So if you want to upgrade to 4K, it kind of sucks that you got to spend $20 for the DVD, then you spend $25 when it comes out on Blu-ray, then you spend $30 when it comes out on 4K, and now you're sitting on extra movies. So really nice to have this available. So I nabbed these two, and don't worry, we're going to see some more of those Disney Insider rewards as we go on. All right, it's June, so let's just start with the Disney rewards because we've already kind of explained where they come from. So let's just go through all the ones that I got that for June. I got Aladdin on 4K. Funny thing about this one was that I already had the Blu-ray on my digital account, so I have the HD version. Usually when you put in the digital code for a 4K, it supersedes that, but this didn't. So I actually have 2 copies of Aladdin in my digital like library. Really weird. Little Mermaid on 4K. I'll probably hold on to the 3D copy of it as well. My wife's favorite Disney movie, so kind of nice to get that 4K for that one. The Lion King on 4K, which is my favorite Disney movie. And then we also have, I think these are the other ones. So we got Avengers Age of Ultron on 4K. Thor Ragnarok on 4K. And Avengers Infinity War on 4K. And I started buying 4K movies, I think, with Ant-Man and the Wasp. So from then onward, I had them. And later on got things like Incredible Hulk was on sale one day on 4K. So I upgraded that. So I'm slowly upgrading my 4K collection of MCU films. But it's nice to be able to use points instead of actually spending hard money on them. I also happened upon a 4K of The Wizard of Oz, so I upgraded my Blu-ray copy of that film as well. Just a generally worthwhile purchase and a pretty inexpensive 4K. I don't know really why I got this movie, but The Dentist 1 and 2. It's probably because it was a Vestron video release. I really liked their presentations for some of these like really niche horror things. I remember not liking most of the first Dentist movie. I haven't seen the second one, so maybe I got it so I could finish the journey, but it's able to stream, so I can't really explain it, but maybe it's because it's Vestron. I picked up Badlands on Blu-ray from Criterion. I purchased this purely because we were going to cover it on Kyle and Nick on Film, and it was a good copy, so I got the Criterion for that. I also got Avatar: The Way of Water on 4K. I mean, it's obvious if I was going to get it, it's going to be on 4K. It's going to be the best possible presentation. I really enjoyed the second film. It's not as good as the first one in my opinion, but still, it's if you're going to show me more of Avatar, show me more of the world, show me more of what's going on. And I think the film does kind of repeat some of the same steps, but I think it does take you to some new places, and I found it overall quite entertaining. Another movie I found really entertaining when I finally made it back to the theater to catch it was Dungeons & Dragons: Honor Among Thieves. I actually picked this movie up. I wasn't sure I was going to buy it just because I really liked it, but I wasn't sure if I was going to go back to it a lot. And then my wife wanted to watch it, so I picked it up because, if my spouse wants to watch something, I'm going to buy it. I also got Creed 3 on 4K. This was quite a pleasant surprise. Michael B. Jordan's first directing role and starring in the film, too. It must have been really hard. But yeah, I really like the way he kind of energizes the film with a different style to the fighting. I mean, we're 9 films in on this franchise. I'm okay with trying some new things. Hey, here's another one of those online movies at Target. Betwixt Now and Sunrise. So this is the director's cut of Francis Ford Coppola's, or I guess the authentic cut, he called it, of his film Twixt. I know very little about it, except that Francis Ford Coppola directed another horror movie, so I was going to be involved in that in some way. I nabbed The Walking Dead, the complete 11th and final season. I'm slowly catching up on The Walking Dead. I finished season 8. I'm now watching and catching up a little bit on Fear the Walking Dead, so I'm slowly making my way to this, but I figured when there was a sale, I was going to nab that one. And what was, up until this month, one of my favorite films of the year, almost my favorite film of the year, John Wick Chapter 4. Remember we talked about those first 3 films? I nabbed John Wick Chapter 4 as well on 4K. So I've got, that one's one I have a complete set in 4K, which is really cool because it's just a great looking series of films, if nothing else. But John Wick Chapter 4, for months, was my favorite movie of the year. It has now been overtaken, and we'll get into that as we go later on in the year, but a great action film, one of my favorite action films of all time. Okay, we've made it to July. So this is the last month we're covering today. We'll cover August at the end of August. I'm sure there'll be some more in there. Let's start off with some of the Disney insiders. I burned through the remainder of my free points. So I got Brave in 4K. Had it previously in 3D. I'll be holding onto the 3D copy because you never know. Finding Nemo on 4K, a movie that I'm not big on, but I had the other one on Blu-ray, and the reason why I wanted to upgrade it was actually because I'm one of the rare people who thinks Finding Dory is the superior film. Upgraded that on 4K as well. Finding Dory makes me like Finding Nemo more. Okay. While I was on vacation at a cabin, I discovered that Heat was on Amazon for $3.99 on 4K. So I nabbed the copy of Heat. I literally just upgraded my copy of Heat to Blu-ray. So now I've got it on 4K. Let's see. couple other items that I needed basically. You ever have that where you like order something online, but like in order to get free shipping, you've got to spend like $10 more? That's what happened here. So I got Terminator 3 Rise of the Machines on Blu-ray, had it previously on DVD. I also previously had My Girl and My Girl 2 on DVD. Now I both have them both on Blu-ray. I'm probably going to do an unboxing of this one, but I don't know if there's going to be a whole lot in there. I'm not saying this to be mean, but Mill Creek Entertainment released the films for My Girl and My Girl 2, and they tend to kind of bare bones it. I don't see a lot of other information on here, but we'll take a look just in case in a future episode of unboxing. Other than that, we just have a lot of Criterion stuff from the sale, so let's cover this. I have the Random Westerns, which is the first official 4K box set that they've released that was first on 4K. They did an upgrade of the Three Colors trilogy, but the Random Westerns is the first official 4K box set they did. It also comes with the 5 films on Blu-ray, so it is multi-packed right there. If you're not into 4K yet, but you want to eventually, that's really nice that Criterion does this a lot. So 5 films starring Randolph Scott, who I'm only really familiar of through the Blazing Saddles joke. They're directed by Bud Boddicker. So purely some films I've never seen before that I thought, hey, this would be really fun to deep dive into. And so I will. I think each one of them is like, they each average like an hour 15 too, so they're not terribly long. Another set that I had to pick up is Pasolini 101. It's a brand new set that came out like a month or two ago. 9 films on this set. If you have ever had a Pasolini films on Criterion, they released Solo, of course, the infamous Solo on Criterion. And there's also a box set that's currently in print for the Trilogy of Life, which is the Decameron, Canterbury Tales, and one other one, but it was a fairy tale adaptations, if you will. These are 9 other films, so none of that crossover, which is nice. 9 new films. I've really liked what I've seen of Pasolini's work, so I'm excited to dig into this one as well. Here's another set I was super excited about, the Infernal Affairs Trilogy. I've seen The Departed, but I've never seen any of the films that The Departed was taking from. So I'm really excited to see these 3. I hear great things about all 3 of them. Seems like everybody, has a general consensus of their own of which one they like more. But it seems like they're well loved across the board, and anyone who's seen The Departed and then watches these seems to say that, they're better. And I really love The Departed, so how could I not think this is going to be great to check out? I also picked up this set right here, Small Axe 5 Films by Steve McQueen. That was a recent release on there. These films were all made for Amazon, so you can watch them on there, but I also don't entirely trust that these studios will keep them on their services, as we've seen recently. Films like Crater, which I didn't even had any interest in seeing, of course, but went to Disney Plus and then a month later was pulled off the service. You can't find Willow Season 1, which is a freaking Lucasfilm TV show on Disney Plus. So who am I to say that they're going to keep Small Axe on Amazon? Plus, I don't want to keep these services just so I can watch things I like. I'd rather just have a physical copy. The last thing we're going to talk about is 2 films by Marguerite Duras. This is India Song and Baxter, Vera Baxter. Again, this was just a really inexpensive set. It was like $30, but it was 2 films. So I mean, it was a good little gab for me to get. And I like these box sets because it gives you at least 2 films to kind of, create that sense of learning about the films you're watching. So I really like box sets from Criterion. If they release one, I'm probably going to end up getting it because I got problems. All right, so that's everything that I picked up in July, and that's everything I picked up this year so far. Hopefully this wasn't too boring, but hopefully you guys enjoyed it as well. And tell me what you've been buying this year or even just recently. And I'll come back at the end of August to hopefully keep up with this kind of a thing. I like talking about my physical media collection, so tell me about yours. What did you pick up? What are you excited for? What pre-orders are you putting in? Are you buying some of these boutique releases? I still really want to get the 4K for Needful Things, which is coming from Scream Factory. It's going to actually have the television cut, which is like a 3-hour cut of that film, so you might see that next month. So I'm super excited to keep preserving physical media because the streamers keep screwing us. So thank you guys for joining me, and we'll see you next month.